The Hex Warp Thrallband Detachment for the Thousand Sons. Is this detachment going to be one that you're going to be taking? Well, in this overview, we're going to give you our top tips, our hot takes, and the top combinations so that you can get your Thousand Sons onto the table, give them some variety, and another one to play the faction. So that's going to be coming up next. Coming up is going to be an overview of the brand new detachment that Games Workshop have been releasing for Warhammer 40,000. We're going to look at whether this detachment is going to be a competitive choice, whether it's going to be one that's more flavorful and narrative, and maybe something that you might want to consider trying yourself, or alternatively, what you need to know and look out for if you're going to be playing against some of these new detachments. Now, to take things a little bit further, on our members page, and if you want to become a YouTube member, the link's going to be in the description. You are going to get a list for this detachment, something that's super competitive, super flavorful, and we're going to make the most of what we can do with this detachment. Now, as we always say, we will try and help you use the models that you own, and we're going to give you some top combos that you can introduce into your list to really make the most of them. Now, not only that, but you're also going to get loads of additional members content, whether it's our live members lounge where you can get your questions answered, or even dictate our games that we play on streams on Fridays. And on our masterclass series, we go one step further. We show you the list, we show you how to deploy it, and we also show you some advanced tactics. And the best thing about that is that you're going to understand exactly how every single faction plays in the game of Warhammer 40,000, so you don't get caught out at the tabletop. We're all about helping you feel like you're able to compete at the table, and knowing all that information is going to be one of those steps to ensure that you don't get gotcha momented. So enjoy this detachment overview, and we really, really hope and look forward to your feedback and some of the best ways to play this detachment.
It's time to take a look at the Hex Warp Thrallband, the Thousand Sons Detachment for the Grotmas calendar event. Michael, where should we start with this detachment?
Okay, so I think it's very important to start with our initial reactions to this. So what I'm going to say is I don't think any of us really feel that this is better than their current index detachment.
Agreed.
But if you want a different way to play Thousand Sons, this is it. And we'll talk about some of the best combos in here, and of course maybe some units you want to lean into if you're going to run in the detachment, as well as of course what you get for running it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what is the detachment rule for this detachment?
Detachment rule is the flow of magic. So this you'll be familiar with because there's other versions of this as well. But basically, the table's divided into different areas, and they count as being within your flow of magic. So your deployment zone is always within your flow of magic. If you control half or more of the objectives at the start of any given phase in No Man's Land, then No Man's Land becomes your flow of magic. And if you control the objective, or if there happens to be more than one in your opponent's deployment zone, half of them, then that becomes your flow of magic as well.
Okay, so you've mentioned flow of magic. There's magic everywhere. What do we get for being in this flow of magic?
Well, we get reroll 1s to wound with psychic weapons.
Okay.
Would have been great to get reroll 1s to wound with all weapons. That would have been spicy.
That would have been spicy.
If we are wholly within our flow of magic, though, we get +1 to wound with psychic weapons.
Okay, when you say wholly within, is it model by model basis, or is it unit by unit basis?
Model by model basis.
Okay.
So if you've got some models wholly within your flow of magic, some models not wholly within, then those models that are not wholly within would only get reroll 1s to wound.
Right.
They won't get the +1 to wound.
And typically the things with psychic are pretty much just all the characters, even what we would class as sergeants in units, so like your sorcerers leading rubrics and things like that, right?
And anywhere else that you can find psychic attacks.
Yeah.
A small disclaimer, me and Jordan are not Thousand Sons experts.
No.
We will probably reach out to some of our VT Thousand Sons experts to see what they think. But yeah, there might be some other psychic weapons that we've missed, or some kind of combo. And if you can think of one, then obviously pop it in the comments below.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how do you rate this then as a detachment rule in terms of for the wider army, and how is it going to impact your gameplay?
So Thousand Sons obviously relies on a lot of characters, so we're still going to get usage out of the reroll wounds. And the characters themselves, even the unit champions within these units, you can have the unit outside your deployment, outside of your flow of magic, but just keep that one model wholly within your flow of magic, and you still get your +1 to wound, which is very good. +1 to wound on the psychic weapons is very good, but it's just that not everybody has those psychic weapons. And realistically, a detachment rule that only affects psychic weapons might as well be devastating wounds, sustained or lethal, which is what we get in the other one.
Yeah.
But hey ho. It is what it is.
I mean, Magnus is looking king again in this because obviously he is just the psychic being of all of 40k, really, isn't he? He's very good in this detachment. But we obviously have enhancements, don't we? Now, what is the first enhancement we can take a look at?
Arcane Might is the first enhancement. So we're going to get +1 strength to our psychic weapons. If we're wholly within our flow of magic, we get +2 strength.
Okay, right. So where could you see this being good?
We kind of had a look through a lot of the data sheets, and I think one of the best places, because it does affect melee as well, you've got maybe pushing some of your like Infernal Masters up to a higher strength on the flame, like strength 8 is quite nice, and whilst they're wholly within that flow, or a Demon Prince, you know, the ones that give out stealth, which can be useful in your army. These guys, giving them strength 10 in melee, and actually if you're in your flow of magic, then that you're going to get +1 wound as well. So strength 10 +1 wound is actually some pretty heavy hitting combat. Yeah. Strength 10 reroll 1s to wound all the time, or strength 9 reroll 1s to wound is also nice.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think there's obviously this distinction of keeping your models and these key characters within that flow of magic, and maybe the rest of the force getting ahead. But having the Demon Prince especially means that, I mean, we've seen Demon Princes actually utilised in competitive lists anyway because of the abilities that they dish out, where now maybe we might see it be a bit more hitty rather than just dishing out abilities to people.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to note on the flow of magic thing, obviously you're going to need to try and hold objectives in No Man's Land in order to get this buff off. So when you move in the movement phase, your intention should be to move to take at least 2 objective markers, and then use the abilities you've got. The buffs aren't necessarily big enough just from the detachment rule, but obviously a lot of the rest of it's going to key into whether you're in the flow of magic or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Empowered Manifestations is the next one. So this is going to give the bearer, whilst they're wholly within your flow of magic, +6 on the range of any of their psychic abilities that specify range. It's also going to give you +6 on your Cabal rituals that you use with that psyker. And then in addition, you can re-roll hazardous tests.
Okay, so the impacts here, obviously we know we've got Mutalisk Vortex Beasts that allow us to double the range of our ritual abilities. So the second part of that in terms of giving us +6 to that range kind of doesn't matter as much because we could just use a Mutalisk to get much further range on like Doom Bolt, for instance, right?
Yes, we could,
but we could also stack it if we wanted that extra bit of range, potentially.
42-inch range.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? But the other side of it, I guess, is actually the psychic abilities, right? So that's your datasheet abilities that say psychic next to them. So what units is this going to impact?
There's not a huge amount that are sort of like ranged psychic abilities. Some of them are like buffs for invuns, bring models back, that kind of thing. Terminator Sorcerers can, at 18 inches, give you reroll 1s to hit against an enemy unit, which is not bad at 24, considering that's the range of the combi weapons that the Terminators have. However, the best pick for this, I think, is that Foot Demon Prince, the non-winged one, right? Because the auras are psychic.
Yeah, so the aura that gives you stealth within 6 normally, well, now you can just bump that to a 12-inch aura stealth to all Thousand Sons unit, by the way. So it could be Predators, it could be Mutalisk Vortex Beast, could be Magnus, could be Rubric Marines, whatever it is. Yeah. You're getting stealth.
So I think that's probably a winner on that, and I would probably stick that straight on a Prince. It also affects the precision, the once per game precision, which is quite nice, so you can choose a unit within 12 rather than 6.
And there is like I'd say a combo, but something you can do with a stratagem as well, which we can maybe link that in quite well together as well.
Yeah. Next is Empiric Onslaught. So whilst the bearer's unit is wholly within the flow of magic, the bearer gets +3 to the attacks characteristic of their psychic weapons.
Okay, right. That obviously sounds really good off the bat, right? But a lot of our psychic weapons are only damage 1.
Yeah, there's not a huge number of places that this is great.
No.
I wouldn't say it's actually great at all necessarily.
No, agreed.
But the best place, probably the spiciest one that we can see. Maybe if you're a Thousand Sons player, let us know. Maybe there's a spicy combo.
A ritual you've foreseen before us.
Exactly. Yeah. Terminator Sorcerers have a 3-shot weapon that is strength 6, 83, 2 damage. Dev wounds with anti-vehicle and
anti-monster 4+.
4+. Perfect. So now we've got 6 shots.
You're effectively doubling your attacks on his character. Yeah. You're definitely going to be taking at least 1 or 2 of these in this detachment. Yeah. Because Terminators actually in this are probably actually the ones you want because of the abilities of getting stealth and things like that as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So on a Terminator Sorcerer is probably where I'd look at this. You know, maybe 2d6 +3 shots on an Infernal Master is not bad either. Yeah. The Flamer. Yeah. So yeah, you could sprinkle this in a couple of places. Finally, Noctilith Mantle. So this one allows the bearer's unit to always count as being within their flow of magic, wholly within their flow of magic.
So you're always going to get +1 to wound.
Yes.
And then obviously reroll wound rolls of 1 on psychic weapons.
Psychic weapons only. However, you can't be selected for Cabal rituals.
Okay, well that last bit sounds pretty bad, obviously, because the rituals are amazing, right? So the rituals are what keep the Thousand Sons that go in there. That's what's made them so strong throughout the whole edition.
Yeah. Why
would you take this?
So there's some stratagems which are worth looking at later. Some of them do revolve around being in your flow of magic. And I think we might as well move on to them, because other than that, there's not really a reason to sacrifice Cabal rituals for being in your flow of magic. Because reroll 1s to wound +1 to wound is nice, but on individual non-epic hero characters, it's not that big.
No. Okay, so we've got some maybe hit and miss enhancements here, but stratagem-wise, what's the first one we're going to look at?
We've got Warding Hex as the first one. This is command phase, 1000 Sons Psyker unit that is wholly within your Shadow of Chaos and in control of an objective marker. You can make that objective marker yours until your opponent takes it off you. So sticky, as we commonly call it, which is quite nice. Quite nice for Thousand Sons. You don't always have a lot of units, especially when you're running things like Magnus.
Yeah.
So being able to now do this and move on to another area of the battlefield is a very handy stratagem to have. And of course, we know with the Cabal rituals, you could potentially just spend this in the first turn where you don't normally use your Cabal rituals to just make an objective sticky. And then in the second turn onwards, you'll be fine, right? So you can protect your home objective, make it sticky, and then even if something like the Cultists, whatever it is you have on their die, you know you've still got control of it.
Yeah, or even just consolidating like control of objectives in the midboard. Yeah. To try and keep your flow of magic going and trying to push that flow of magic further up the board.
Yeah, well, if you've got Magnus moving his way across the board, then you can stick an objective, move on, go kill stuff, stick another objective, move on, and so forth.
He usually doesn't leave things behind him. He usually kills everything. Yeah. And then moves forward.
Next is Wrath of the Doomed. So for 1 CP in the fight phase, after you're targeted, you can essentially fight on death.
Okay.
On a 4+, but if you're wholly within your flow of magic, you get it on a 3-up.
Okay, so initially, just when we've looked at this, I mean, Magnus is obviously fighting on death is kind of horrifying. Yeah. But the other units, like the rest of your army, tend to be ranged units. The Terminators potentially, again, are going to be your best pick because they're the ones that will do damage in combat, whereas others wouldn't.
No. And it's not psychic unit, so maybe Spawn or something that just a sacrificial unit.
It's a nice thing to have in the pocket, I guess, right? Especially against combat armies. It means that if they want to charge you and kill you, they might just send 5 jump pack assault intercessors as well. You could potentially kill them on the hit back. Yeah. But it is on a dice roll of a 4 or a 3-up.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not the best.
No.
Next one's Strands of Time. This you use on a Thousand Sons Psyker unit for 1 command point. You can fall back and shoot or charge.
Okay.
If you're wholly within your flow of magic, then you can shoot and charge.
Again, I think like obviously the fallback and shoot is great on most of your army, right? Yeah. Well, Psycho units, so it would be like your Rubric Marines and then
your Scarab Occults, any of the characters that you've got.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Magnus falling back and being able to charge with his fly, huge distance he can move, is actually fantastic.
Yeah.
And this does afford you a lot more mobility than you maybe had previously, because you're very slow units other than Magnus and maybe the odd disc riding surfer. Yeah. But now you're able to have somebody try and tag you with a unit that you can't kill with your rubrics, step back and unload your warp flamer at them. Yeah. So I think this is it's definitely one of the best strats in here. Then we've got Through the Veil. So for 1 command point in our reinforcement step, we can pick a rubric unit or a Scarab Occult unit that is in reserves.
Okay.
If it's rubrics, we can arrive this turn via Deep Strike.
That's pretty good.
Which is amazing for those flamers.
Yes.
Look, dropping down 10 dudes, 9 flamers, potentially Ahriman.
That means you get +1 to wound with all your flamers as well with 10 of them because it's Ahriman and Ahriman is
great.
The dude. He's very good. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a pretty spicy combo. Yeah. Twist of Fate for freezies, AP, 3 flamers.
Yeah. Potentially, if the Demon Prince is there with his 12-inch aura, give your flamers precision.
Yes, because you could deep strike within range of the...
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you could just go, all my flamers have got precision now, and I'm just going to burn out your characters with my fire.
Stealth, you can set up in a position where you can overwatch a second unit if they do try to move after you've cooked one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're Scarab Occult, then you actually get to deep strike 6 inches away from the opponent.
Okay.
You don't get to charge, but it's closer than 9.
So it means that obviously when we're looking at screening out the board, we have to be a lot more wary of these distances. Obviously, 9 inches is a lot easier to screen out than 6, right?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Exactly. So this affords you the ability to place this unit a lot better than you normally could, because Terminators obviously have bigger bases, especially if you run a brick of Terminators, so 10, it can be very difficult to place them when you're deep striking. So this now means that you can actually get more of them in the right line to be able to shoot the right thing that you want to kill. Potentially with precision, which should be pretty cool. Scouring Warpflame is the next one. 1 CP in your shooting phase, Thousand Sons Psyker unit that's wholly within your flow of magic. You get Ignores cover on all of your attacks, not just the psychic ones, all of them. And then after you've shot, the unit that you shot at can no longer get the benefits of cover against the rest of your army.
Okay, so I think this has quite a few significant impacts, right? We've just mentioned one of the rituals you can get is +2 AP on your ranged weapons. So you could get either your Terminator's bolters to AP3, and then now they can strip cover. You could have Magnus maybe shooting at something without cover now, because his stuff is AP2.
Yep.
So there's a lot of the stuff in the index is AP2 or 1. Yeah. So having an ability to turn off cover, I mean, a unit that is maybe a Zangor shaman, he could do it himself, strip cover off something for you, or you could have him leading the unit. They could get Ignores cover and strip cover.
Yes.
So there's different combos you can do there.
Yeah.
But the important thing is most of your army is AP2 and 1. So having that ability, I think, is actually quite nice. Yeah,
I think this is fantastic, and this is the reason why you take that enhancement, where your unit always counts as being wholly within that flow of magic, right? Because this is the unit that you use it on, and you can use it no matter where you are on the table. Even if you had just a sorcerer on a disc with this, you can zip up the board, double move with a Cabal Ritual, and then look at something, use a strat, shoot it, and now it doesn't get cover against anything else you've got in the army. So I do like this one, and I think we're going to see it combo well with some of the units that we might recommend in this attachment. Yeah,
more Thousand Sons trickery, I think, is up the sleeve, isn't it? Which is really good. But we've got one last one. What is it?
So this one is Kaleidoscopic Tempest. It's 1 CP. In your opponent's shooting phase, you choose one of your Thousand Sons Psyker units that they've targeted. You get Stealth, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
This would work on Magnus, just saying.
Yeah, it would work on Magnus.
And if they're wholly within your flow of magic, you also get the benefits of cover.
Again, like we said this, I think, for quite a few of them, which is actually quite refreshing, is the Terminators are really good with this. They can get Stealth now. They can get cover, a 2-up save with cover as well, and -1 to hit. It's very, very good. Yeah. And if you did use a stratagem to maybe 6-inch deep strike and that puts you in the open, it doesn't matter about being in cover now, because you could just get it you could even do it for free with one of your rituals.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why I think the enhancement for always being wholly within your flow of magic should go on a Terminator sorcerer, because then you know that you can always, no matter where your Terminator unit is, use a stratagem. You have that 2-up armor save with cover, and you have Stealth, and you're not reliant on being near the Demon Prince for Stealth, which the rest of your units can get. So I very much like this for that Terminator brick being very difficult to kill.
Yeah, and like you said, Magnus. I think Magnus is just so good anyway, but all of these stratagems just literally scream Magnus is going to do some work for you in this army again. And even the detachment rule boasts that. Yeah. But some really good stratagems there, actually. I think overall, like we said, this detachment is not, well, we don't think it's going to be seen over the original index detachment, because that one just is a lot better. But this definitely has play, and it definitely gives you an alternative way to play Thousand Sons. One thing to ask then is, like you said at the start, we've seen this detachment rule or similar versions of it, like Chaos Demons, Necrons have it as well. What are the significance of this for Thousand Sons, do you think?
So the issue that Thousands will have is that they need to take these objectives in the movement phase if they want the benefit of the detachment rule.
Yeah.
So things like your Zangors, even your scouting cultists, just to move forward and quickly take an objective marker, will be great. Any of those little units, potentially even the Shaman on the disc with Enlightened, or even solo, moving on to an objective marker, and then potentially making it sticky in a future turn as well means that you are able to sort of get that flow of magic going. Equally, I think if you build into Magnus and Bricks of Terminators with that flow of magic automatically on them, you should be able to control objectives, because Magnus on his own should flip a middle objective.
Oh, easy, yeah.
And then you can send rubrics up to other ones.
So we've spoke a lot about Terminators and Magnus. Do you think that they are the two star units in this detachment, or do you think there are other units you think we'll see more in this detachment?
Well, like we said earlier, we're not Thousand Sons experts. I'm sure there's some magic that somebody will come up with, pun intended.
Yeah.
But for me, I love the idea of Terminator bricks, or at least one Terminator brick that's always in the flow of magic, and then maybe a 5-man Terminator brick with the +3 attacks enhancement, a Demon Prince with the 12-inch aura of stealth, and then probably Ahriman, big brick of flamers, and look, I don't know how many points you got left after that. Yeah. But maybe another couple of units of flamers to drop down deep strike and cook stuff. And then probably your usual like scouts in order to push your opponent back. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you've got the flexibility of fall back and shoot, so these bricks aren't tied down. And that's probably where I'd see the list going. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think definitely having like these little MSU units as well to play around, just steal objectives. Rubric Marines OC2, so being able to just chuck them onto objectives, deep strike them onto objectives. And I do think that will be really good. Some nice little plays we could do there. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Michael, thank you for running through that detachment with me. All good. It's been a pleasure, and we hope you've got some insight into this detachment. And Thousand Sons players, let us know in the comments whether or not you're excited to play this, what you would have liked to have seen, maybe some combos that we've missed, or even units that you think would work really well in this detachment. And we'll see you in the video very soon.